Hi guys, it's April. It's time for another monthly recommendation, and I'll be honest with you, I was completely terrified to do this month's topic. Monthly recommendation group is just a group of us readers who each month we recommend books based on a topic. I will leave all the information down below in case you are interested in joining or if you want to find more recommendations after you finish watching this video, because you really should finish watching this video no matter how nervous and terrified I am to create it. Watch it. The reason I am so terrified of doing this is because I don't feel like I have enough of a knowledge of this field of reading that I don't feel like my recommendations are extremely strong. So I'm going to call them gateway recommendations. The whole thing that I am skirting right now is OwnVoices. OwnVoices is a movement that was started so that minority authors who created characters in their own image, so to speak, had a way of being recommended. It started a conversation on minority groups in reading and in writing. That is this month's topic. So I sat and I looked at my bookshelf and felt really bad that I didn't know a lot about the authors who write a lot of my books, and the fact that my reading probably isn't as diverse as it probably should be. However, I managed to scrounge up at least 4 reads that I felt comfortable enough-ish to recommend to you. They are all within this fantasy supernatural realm because I like to live in that area of reading. So that is where I found these recommendations. And like I said previously, they are kind of like gateway OwnVoices. So there's that. I'm sure I'm going to get comments on what I've chosen, and I would love for comments to be made about what I have decided to voice in this video. I want to learn more about all of this. This is a learning experience for me, and it is a way for me to grow. So if you have any thoughts about what I'm about to put out, or if you have recommendations for OwnVoices that you think I would truly enjoy, leave them down below. And now I will start talking about books. The first book I want to mention is Girl at Midnight by Melissa Gray. Both Gray and the main character Echo are both Latinx. Girl at Midnight primarily takes place underneath the city of New York. Echo is part of this very interesting society, and it plays on a lot of mythologies and a lot of magic, and it's a very interesting read. I do want to continue on with the series, but I haven't picked up the next book yet. It's on my list. It's gonna happen eventually. Now, this book doesn't necessarily deal with Echo being Latinx, but she is often mentioned as such, and so I thought that it would fit into this little grouping rather nicely. The next book I want to mention is Shadow Shaper by Daniel Older. This is also a Latinx book. It's all centered around Sierra, who is a teen artist in Brooklyn. It deals with a lot of the graffiti culture and the Latinx graffiti culture, and then the mythology and all of that kind of thing. It is interesting to see some of the folklore and the mythology within that culture. It's not something I've ever been privileged to, but to see it is something that I find really, really interesting. Plus, it also deals a lot with the graffiti culture, and that artistry has always fascinated me. I love seeing those kind of works, so this book was written for me to read, and I did enjoy reading it. The next book is The Ghost Bride by Yang Shi Cho. This is a Malaysian Chinese story. It deals with a lot of the culture centered around death and that kind of thing. This book takes place when the British had colonized Malaya, and this story is centered around Li Land, who becomes a ghost bride, which is within the Chinese Malayan tradition. When a young man dies without ever being married, he is still married off to a young girl who then lives in his household as his bride, even though he is no longer of this world. This book deals a lot with that death culture and that kind of mythology and folklore, and I love that aspect of this book. It's one of those, once again, one of those things that's always fascinated me, and just to see how things play out in those beliefs. I really enjoyed this book. And finally, I debated on whether or not to include this book, but I decided just to run with it because in my thought process, it fit into this category, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, the reason I included this book is because within this trilogy, there is a main character who is bi, and Victoria Schwab has identified as bi. And so that is why this book is included in this story. I really truly enjoyed how all of the characters interact with each other. It's not something that's like in your face, like, hey, look at me, but it is played out very well and very realistically, in my opinion. And the magic system within all of this is blood magic, and there's parallel Londons, and it is a wonderful read, and I just finished off the last in the trilogy, so this was fresh in my mind. So it is in this recommendation. What is it? So like I said, my list isn't very long, and they're more like gateway own voices. I know there are some stronger own voices that are in, say, contemporary and nonfiction and things like that, and I may delve into some of those, I hope, in the future. I'm starting to compile my lists, so like I said, recommend down below, please, please, and let me know what you think of my choices. I'm still getting a feel for this whole category. It's not something I've ever truly contemplated given who I am in my life, and for that I am ready to expand and build out and just learn. I am here to learn. And with that, I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.